I'm going to ask you 4 questions today. If you say yes to 2 or more, you are currently losing money as a non-technical founder and you don't know it yet. Hello, smart people. How are you today? My gardening adventures, which I have surprised myself with, they are continuing. But as I mentioned, I have no idea what I'm doing. And I nearly broke the garden fence yesterday in my enthusiasm. I decided to sew off a tree with my bare hands and it started falling in the wrong direction. I did save the day. The fence is safe. The tree has been felled. And now I'm very proud of myself and have discovered a new career as a lumberjack. But before that, let's talk to you and your problems as a non-technical founder and how you can solve them. So today I've got 4 diagnostic questions that are going to help you as a non-technical founder figure out where you're losing money or where you're getting stuck. This is obviously very relevant to a person who is working on their tech venture. It's also very relevant for you if you're a corporate innovator. This episode is going to help you to identify the root causes of why product development is going off track. Because when it goes off track, it's very stressful and it's very expensive. It's also going to help you de-risk scope creep, which is another expensive and very common issue. And it's going to help you clarify your tech strategy so you stop chasing shiny tools and thinking, should I do AI? Should I do normal no-code tools? Should I work with developers? So you can focus on your biggest problems and so you can solve them. But before we get into it, I have a lovely surprise for you. So there is a course that long-time listeners would know about. My flagship course is called Tech for Non-Technical Founders, and this episode is actually based on some of the stuff that you are going to get taught in this course. This flagship course is on flash sale until Thursday night at midnight Eastern. This is the flagship course that I have taught at Oxford University, at Techstars at London Business School, and at many more, including Ivy Leagues and top global institutions. And over 700 people have now gone through it, and my alumni have built apps and platforms, and you've heard some of these alumni on this podcast rather. My alumni have raised funding. They've also completely changed their careers, and not all of them have become entrepreneurs. Some have become investors, and I know that at least one of them is now a partner at a VC firm. Not bad. And others have joined big tech companies and now lead digital transformation at large corporates. So this is a genuinely strong course with really impressive results to back it up. And just until Thursday at midnight, this course is on sale. But that's not all. Carry on listening. So we're now in the second half of 2026. If you're listening to this when it comes out live, which I hope you are, because the flash sale is literally a flash. It's not going to last forever. So in the second half of 2026, you're kind of in this time where you've got time to make this year the year that you did something really, really big. But we're also in the second half, so it's not the same as January. You are not on unlimited time. So if your goal is to do something really impressive, like launch your venture, launch your product, do something new, this is the moment to actually start. And in the flash sale, you're going to get the full 6-module course plus a one-on-one strategy session with me to apply whatever you're learning directly to your own venture and directly to your own goals. Now, my standard non-technical founder program is now $4,000, which I know is a serious investment for most people. So I wanted to create something much more accessible so more of you can actually get this and apply it and essentially, create the things that you want to create and become my case studies and go on this show and tell everybody about it. So until Thursday night, this course plus your session with me is just $497. So if you've been listening to this podcast and coming to my free classes and thinking about building something, this is literally the moment to go deeper and not to just learn about it, but to actually do it. So the link to get the flash sale offer is in the show notes and it will be live until midnight Eastern on Thursday, the 30th of July. So do not delay. If you have been learning from this podcast, think about how much more you can get if you actually join the program and also have that strategy session with me. So do not delay. This flash sale is literally a flash sale. It is over on Thursday. Okay, now, my dear smart person, let us go through the 4 diagnostic questions which will show you where you're getting stuck if you are a non-technical founder. So question 1, have you hired developers and watched the budget explode while getting half of what you expected? So this is the scene. You had an idea. You found a developer or an agency. You got a quote. The quote seemed reasonable, so you said yes. Then 3 months in, 6 months in, the quote has doubled or tripled. Half the features you asked for are not there. And the developer keeps saying, but this wasn't in the original scope. You are now basically paying more for less. You don't understand why, and you don't know when it will end. The verdict is that this is not a developer problem. It is a briefing problem. You can't brief what you can't define. And nobody has ever taught you how to define a proper brief. The developer is not lying to you. They're building exactly what you asked for, which is exactly the problem, because then you can't blame them. The thing is, in this situation, what most likely happened, because you didn't know how to brief properly, what you asked for was very vague, which is why you got this very reasonable quote for a much smaller thing. So notice this. Think about the last brief you gave a developer, or the one that you would give to a developer tomorrow if you're on the brink of doing this. Could you hand it to a stranger with zero context and have them build exactly what's in your head? If you're not sure, that is not a small gap. That is a serious problem that needs to be solved. A proper product brief has specific components most non-technical founders have never even seen, don't even know about, let alone learned to write. Question 2 in our diagnostic. Have you ever wondered whether you should use AI, hire a team, or find a technical co-founder? So this is the scene. You've been going back and forth on this decision for months. You've read an article about no-code tools, you have got excited, then you tried one, then you hit a wall. Then maybe you thought you need a real developer after all, but then you worry about giving away half your equity to a co-founder and you hear all these nightmare stories about co-founder divorce. So then you get on ChatGPT and then you are thinking, okay, maybe if I combine ChatGPT and Lovable, I can somehow make it work. So you start getting on Lovable and then it becomes more and more complicated. You're spending hours and hours on this. Nothing seems to be moving forward. So then you're back to thinking, should I hire a developer or get a co-founder? Now, is this familiar? I bet to many of you it is. So the verdict here is that the question itself is actually the wrong one, because it's not which, it's not AI versus team versus co-founder. It's at what stage and for what reason, because different stages need different things. Validating an idea needs something completely different from scaling a product with 10,000 users. You've been trying to answer a strategy question with a tools question, and that's why you keep going round in circles. And the whole idea of a co-founder, a technical co-founder or a non-technical co-founder, that is its whole other thing, because sometimes it's a wonderful thing to do. A lot of the time it isn't. So notice this. Could you say right now out loud exactly which stage your product is at and what approach is right for your stage? Because most founders can't, because nobody has ever laid out the stage, like what the stages even are. And especially with all of this AI hype, with AI companies basically telling you that anybody can build anything with AI, it's really tempting to believe that. But honestly, in my experience, that is just not true. So if the scenario that I described sounds really familiar and you're feeling bad that you haven't moved forward, just know that that is not a you problem. You just haven't learned a specific skill set. You can learn that skill set and then you will move forward. The thing to do is to learn that skill set, learn about the different stages, figure out which stage you're at, and use the appropriate answer for that stage. That is what's going to get you unstuck, as opposed to sitting there and researching and talking to people and kind of trying to build something, not getting anywhere. I see this problem happen most often. Okay, let's get to diagnostic question number 3. Have you felt lost in technical conversations, unsure what you're actually paying for and what the conversation is about? So here's the scene. You're in a meeting with a developer or an agency or even a potential investor. They start talking about the backend, they start talking about API integrations, about database architecture and security, and talking about all the security issues on places like Lovable and Base44, and you're nodding and you're saying, yes, this sounds very good. Yes, indeed, rubbing your chin intelligently. But inside, you're really hoping that nobody turns to you and asks a direct question, because you genuinely have no idea whether what they're proposing is reasonable, or if you're being taken for a ride, or whether the investor is asking questions that you really should have the answer to, or whether they're basically just too technical and this is where you need to get a developer. So the verdict, what is the verdict here? If this is what's happening, that's when you are not the founder anymore and you are a passenger in your own company. And I have been in this situation. It is really scary when that happens, because when you are losing the reins, who is holding them. A lot of the time, it's either nobody or somebody you don't want to be holding them. At this point, you don't need to build the whole thing with Lovable or with any other tool yourself. And you certainly don't need to learn to code, but you do need to understand enough to know whether a proposal makes sense, whether the timeline is realistic, and whether the price is fair. You need to understand, is there enough wiggle room, because there will inevitably be some scope change. Because right now, if you can't tell the difference between a good decision and a bad decision in that room, you are in the business of making expensive mistakes. So notice this. If a developer quoted you 6 weeks for a feature tomorrow, would you know whether this is reasonable or whether it's being padded, or whether the developer just has a completely different vision of what this feature is to you? Because most non-technical founders have no reference point for this at all, and they don't even know how to question it. And so if you just say, okay, why 6 weeks? And they give you a technical explanation, what are you going to do with it? Basically nothing. So if this is what's happening to you, the answer again is, this is not because you're stupid. This is not because this is impossible. It's just a skill set that you need to learn. You have learned things before. You could learn this skill set too. And obviously, if you get expert help, you're going to move faster. This is what we cover in the Tech for Non-Technical Founders course. It's not the only thing that we cover, but it's definitely one of the important aspects. As I told you, this episode is actually based on that very, very course. So if what I'm talking about really resonates with you, I really, really encourage you to take advantage of the flash sale. It's not going to be affordable for us as a company to basically offer this at this price for the long term, but I want as many of you as possible to take this course, because honestly, it's had such good results that I want to basically spread the opportunity, and I want to meet as many of you as possible in our strategy sessions. Diagnostic question number 4. Have you been stuck asking, should I hire developers, instead of how does a product go from idea to scale? How many of you are even asking, how does a product go from idea to scale? You should be asking that question. That should, if you have an idea for a tech venture, that is the number one question you should be asking. So here's the C. You spent enormous energy on this one decision. So whether to build it yourself or hire developers or find a co-founder. And you have been treating it like the entire problem. Like this is, okay, once I figure this out, then everything is going to be amazing. I'm going to burst your bubble, because that's literally one step out of at least 6 steps. So before you even answer this question, if you still don't know how to design something that users will understand, or how to work with whoever you hire or, seduce as your technical co-founder, or how to get your first users and how to actually make sure that your product is being used from day one, then you have a problem. So, a thing that I often see is that so much energy goes into getting a developer or getting the product created somehow, and no energy goes into users and scale. And this is when you end up with a product which is expensive. Like, it's expensive either in time or in money, often in both. So you end up with this product, and then it's basically sitting on the App Store, sitting on the internet, and it's basically an expensive hobby. And yes, you have a product, but unless you have users, unless you can analyze their behavior, unless you know what to do with that analysis, you've essentially just created a thing that is completely useless, right? The definition of useless is nobody is using it. So if you are literally only fixated on step 1 and you're not thinking about the whole picture, you are going to end up in the situation which I see founders end up in all the time. And if you end up in the situation and, say you got some funding to create the product, you create the product and nobody's using it, it's going to be really, really difficult to get future funding, because essentially investors or whoever's funding is going to be saying, well, if nobody's using this product, doesn't look like this is a great success. And the thing is, the product could be a success if you actually thought through what you're going to do next. So the verdict is, if this sounds like you are solving step 1 of a 6-step problem and wondering why you feel stuck. Answering the hiring question or even answering the building question does not unstick you. It just moves you into feeling stuck in the next stage. If you don't know how the stages connect to each other and what problem to solve for at the next stage, you're basically going to keep on stalling at every single one. And it means that a journey that is already risky is going to keep on getting riskier and riskier. So notice this. Could you list right now the 6 stages a product actually goes through? The 6 stages a product actually goes through between an idea in your head and a product at scale that lots of people are using. A lot of founders can name maybe two, potentially three. But the other, the other three, the other four really are not obvious because they're not the kind of thing that you figure out by thinking harder. They're the kind of thing that somebody who has gone the journey, who has gone on the journey, and somebody who's actually codified this process, i.e. me, could teach you. Okay, so let's bring this together. Actually, before I do that, I just want you to see that if you've gone through these questions with me and these questions have made you feel really bad because you're like, oh my God, I've had all of these situations, or I'm about to embark on this journey and I can imagine myself in these situations. First of all, don't feel bad and don't panic. Because this is not about your intelligence, this is not about your worth, this is not about your abilities. I mean, it is about your abilities, but it's about your current abilities, right? Like, if you don't know how to bake a cake today, it doesn't mean that you can never learn to bake a cake, right? What do? You find out how to do it, and you have a few practice runs and off you go. You're off to the races. So if you are going through this with me and you're going through these questions and you're feeling terrible, the solution is take some action to prevent these problems. You can take action and you'll be fine. So let's bring this together. The 4 questions. Oh, by the way, can you hear? There's like huge rain. But anyway, I hope you can't hear the, the Amazon falling from the skies. So the 4 questions are you vague when you brief developers? Because nobody taught you how to be specific. Number 2, are you stuck cycling between AI, hiring, and co-founders? Because you're answering a tools question with a no-stage strategy. So you don't know what questions to ask for which stage. Question 3, do you nod along in technical meetings, hoping that nobody asks you a direct question? This is when you are losing control. You're losing control of your venture, which means either somebody else has control or nobody has control. Both are bad in different ways. And the last question is, are you fixated on one decision? When actually building your product is just part of a 6-step journey. So if 2 or more of these questions really struck you, then that's not bad luck. You basically have a knowledge gap, and a knowledge gap, the great thing about a knowledge gap is it is fixable. You can fill it. So if you've just heard yourself in 1 or 2 or honestly all 4 of the questions, then here's the thing. This is not a personal failing. This is something that we can close in the Tech for Non-Technical Founders course, which is, as I have mentioned, on the flash sale right now. And so here is what one of our alumni, one of our over 700 alumni now, said of the course. Her name is Lucia Marin. She is a founder of a language learning platform. So she literally was one of my earliest students, and she said, I attended Tech for Non-Technical Founders, and it helped me understand all the aspects involved in developing an app. And it helped me get investment to build my first prototype. Sophia explained everything in a very clear and simple way. I couldn't recommend this course highly enough. Isn't this amazing? When I have my down days, I read testimonials and they make me feel better. This is one of the ones I keep on going back to. Anyway, right now, the course that Lucia is talking about is on flash sale until Thursday night at midnight. We're in the second half of 2026 now, so you've still got time to make this year you do something big, but not unlimited time. So this is the moment to actually start. In the flash sale, you're going to get the 6-module course plus a one-on-one strategy session with me to apply what you are learning directly to your own goals. So our standard non-technical founder program is $4,000, which I know is a serious investment for most of us. So I wanted to make sure that there's something more accessible so more of you can get this knowledge and basically take your ventures from vision to reality. So until Thursday night, the course plus your session with me is just $497. So if you've been listening to this podcast and you've been really applying what you're learning, or you've been thinking, okay, 2026, this is the year I'm going to do something about this. This literally is the moment to go deeper. I'm giving you this amazing opportunity. So please take it, because if you are loving what you're learning in the podcast, just imagine how much further you will go if you actually take the program and have this strategy session. So the link is in the show notes. It's live until midnight Eastern, Thursday, the 30th of July. So don't delay, because this opportunity is honestly a no-brainer. So sign up. And on that note, my dear smart person, I'm looking forward to seeing you in the course and having our strategy sessions. And on that note, have a wonderful day, and I shall be back in your delightful smart ears next week. Ciao.